I'm Simon Ruda, I'm the director in the Behavioural Insights team. So we were created as part of government, as part of the Cabinet Office in 2010, in order to think about how public policy can be delivered with a more evidence-based behavioural perspective. And that often involved thinking about what we refer to as the final mile of policy delivery, looking at actually the detail of how something appears to the person who is receiving it. So the people whose behaviour we want to affect, the end user, the general public, what are the really kind of fine details that shape the way they perceive the policies and guide their actions. Well, first of all, I don't think there are major challenges. I think it's a no-brainer for many policymakers. If there are challenges, it probably requires greater attention to evaluation, because a lot of these policies are very context dependent. So it's very important that you test them in different contexts before you can scale them nationally or internationally. And I think that the empirical method, the scientific method of evaluation, can be done cheaply and rapidly. In fact, we've shown it to be done cheaply and rapidly, but it requires a bit of thinking, a bit of skill, a bit of, to pause before you set up a pilot or a small intervention. It requires the policymakers to think about how it should be rolled out so it can be evaluated as effectively as possible. And sometimes that pause for consideration puts off politicians or policymakers who want to roll out something as quickly as possible. Britain probably is the most advanced country when it comes to applying this approach in government. And I wouldn't be surprised if Latin America follows the same path that Britain did. So at the beginning it becomes a sort of political issue for some. And then it sort of seeps into the mentality of policymakers and civil servants. So it actually is just another tool of policymaking. It's not really an issue anymore. Of course, let's think about how we could change this using all the levers at our disposal, one of which may be behavioural science. In terms of substance, I see moving from the nudge-based interventions, so a letter here or there, a text, use of social norms, to what I refer to as moving beyond nudge. So on the one hand, we have interventions that are designed to accommodate our mental biases, and that might be a letter or what have you. But on the other hand, some of the longer-term interventions designed to change habitual behaviour might aim to help people resist their mental biases. So going beyond nudge, thinking about some of, for example, Carol Dweck's work to use trying to affect growth mindsets in the population, or many other examples of this. I think it's important to work out what your ambition is. It's different for you because you're outside of government and you have relationships and levers within government. So to a great extent, the team will depend on the needs of the government. Although obviously, BID can influence what the government thinks it should do. But what I think is really important will change over time. So to begin with, it's always important to have scholarship and rigor, to be taken seriously and to be, to do what is likely to work. But there's, I think, slightly less emphasis on that to begin with, and greater emphasis on people who can get things done, get things moving, diplomacy skills, building rapport with officials, get them to come along with it, because there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Actually, around the world, quite a lot of very successful applications of behavioural science have been shown to be context neutral to some extent. You can work in different contexts. That's not to say you shouldn't evaluate things, that's very important. But I think you don't have to begin with the most sparkling behavioural scientists the world has ever seen. You need people who understand government, who have experience in doing these things, to lay the groundwork and say, let's do it, and you learn by doing. And then afterwards, after that, when you've got going, when you've got some momentum, then you start populating the team with brilliant behavioural economists, experimental psychologists and whatnot. But I would think that it's important to focus on who you have inside, and it's more about their characteristics rather than their degrees. So do they have resilience? Can they inspire people? Those are the important things. Actually, at the beginning of my career, Before I became a civil servant, I worked in marketing, particularly strategic marketing and brand strategy. And then I began to think about how we could apply this to some of the concerns in the UK. I joined something called the Foreign Office Diplomatic Service, and we thought about the UK's position in the world. And some of the things that we thought about are not dissimilar, they're not the same, they're not dissimilar to behavioural science. And when the chance came about to start applying that sort of different way of thinking to public policy in a very serious way, rather than thinking about communications as a sort of separate issue for policy, whereas the real meat belongs to economists, that was very appealing. And so, we've never looked back. It's great to see this way.